Kia ora, good morning. So I've only been up a little while. I had a very deep sleep, but I had quite a interesting dream that I wanted to document, and I wanted to document it because I wanted to make sense of it. Because how do I put it? It's like I was having a dream inside a well, not a. I was having memories inside dreams to do with other dreams, and I was trying to make sense of it all. So I've just had a shower. I've just gotten into clean jammies and that. I've just made myself a coffee, and as while I was making my coffee, I realised what the dream was, and it was basically um, a couple of years ago. I had a dream that I was on a tropical island, and I was stranded, and I was eating rice and coconuts, and all the animals, big and small, all the water animals, big and small, started lining up to help me get off the island. And I had to stand on the backs of the animals like crabs and dolphins and sharks and all of that to get off the island. They were all helping me get off the island. And by the time I got to the biggest whale that was lifting me up out of the water, it reached so high that the birds started taking over. And then I was like standing on the birds, and the birds took me up into the clouds where my boys were standing, and I was too scared to get off the cloud because I could see this wee town with a fountain, and it looked like Disneyland but not. Like it felt like a theme park, but it wasn't. And I just remember this fountain, and my youngest took my hand and said, "You've come this far alone, Ma. Don't worry, we've got you the rest of the way," or something. And took my hand, and we walked into this, stepped off the cloud and into this village. And then I had a dream that my boys and I were in a boat, and it was like um, everything was made of paper, but we could look over the paper. And then all these gods appeared. I know Chon Su was there. It's when I met the Chinese god. Is it Tian? Tien? Is it Tian? And then there was Klaus Schwab on Epstein Island. Well, what I figured out to be, well, no, it was Epstein Island. He was strapped to that building on Little St. James. You know, the gold one with the blue and white stripes. He was strapped to that. And the ground opened up, and that building sunk into the ground, and Klaus Schwab was shitting himself because he knew that he was being sacrificed, like they were sacrificing him, and he was terrified. And then it switched to him being in a New York courthouse where he was sentenced to 150 years. I remember saying, like, Madoff. Then I had that dream recently with Amber under the water, remember? And she went to the ATM machine under the water, and she was saying to me, we're going to take a deep dive into an emotional territory, but it's going to pay off. And when she popped up beside me, I was videotaping all these birds, all these little baba birds in a nest. So this dream that I had, I was in this boat with my teacher, Pauline Wardell Braddon. She passed away in October 2014. And it was heartbreaking because I got a message to say that she was in hospice and she was reaching out to me, and could I contact the hospice. And then, because this was like 5 in the morning or something, I woke up, saw the email, And then when I went to write down the number and that, there was another email sitting there. I opened it up and basically it was too late. I'd received the email too late. She'd already gone. But I was who she was asking for when she died. Um, how I had met her was I was in Australia. I met her having a holiday with my so-called best friend, Donna, who was a lesbian. I met her through, I was a babysitter for her and her partner's kid. And they'd broken up and I was friends with Donna, and we decided to take a trip to Queensland and just relax. And then there was this guy at the bar, even though I was married at the time, who I started talking to at the casino, and the rugby was on, so he was coming back to our apartment to watch the rugby, and she flipped out. It was only to watch the rugby. He had a girlfriend, I was married, and she flipped out and she attacked me. Like, she physically attacked me. I was covered in bruises and everything, and kicked me out of the room. So I called my husband and, we sorted everything out. And I was waiting to get on a bus to take a plane back to New Zealand to fly home. I was ditching her. I was leaving her in Australia because I was not going to stay with somebody who literally, she almost threw me down the stairs. The people in the hotel were absolutely fantastic, but until the office opened, I was stuck outside by the swimming pool from like 3 o'clock in the morning until like 9 when the office opened. And the sun was just starting to come out. And I was just sitting there, like, just going over everything, thinking, how the hell did this even happen? Like, how did this happen? What the hell's going on? Like, I've just lost my dad. So this must have been 98, because I met Chris in 99. My marriage with Paul was sort of starting to come to an end, and it's one of the, other than losing my dad, it was one of the reasons why I needed to get away. And Donna was like, well, look, let's go to Australia. Like, and we'd literally only been there like 2 days or something. She ruined the whole thing because of jealousy. I think she thought maybe we were going to be getting it on. Like, I don't know, but she flew into a jealous rage and all hell broke loose, and it was so undignified. I was so embarrassed at the way she turned on me. And so, yeah. So while I'm waiting for the, I opened up the office, called Paul, did everything I had to do, and I was just sitting and waiting for the bus to come and pick me up to take me to the airport. And this must have been about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning by this point. And I just heard this, excuse me, excuse me. And I looked over and there was this teeny tiny little woman, Mary the Fairy. She's kind of loosely based on Teacher. Tiny, tiny little woman with like salt and pepper grey hair, except Mary's going to have sort of white hair. She said, I've been watching you sit out there for quite a while. The sun's starting to come out. She said, why don't you come in here and have a cuppa? And I was like, oh, no, I'm okay. And she goes, it's all right, sweetheart. She said, I'm just a little old lady. I'm not going to hurt you. She said, my name's Pauline. I'm on the tally, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you come in? She said, like, I'll leave the, she was reassuring me to come in. And so I thought, well, I'm a bit thirsty, and that's so I went in, and she was there with her, she said friend, Pauline, I think her name was, but I think they were a couple. They were inseparable, and Pauline was so devoted to her. I think her name was Pauline or Paulette. And we started talking. She got me a drink, and she explained about who she was and how she was a metaphysician and how she did readings on the tally, and she was on like the I can't remember his name. And how she, toured all over America, and she, as a metaphysician, she worked with a treasure hunter called Jack someone. and they went on boats around Florida and that looking for treasure, sunken treasure. And she was using all her metaphysical tech in that to find the treasure, and they found some treasure, but he was looking for a specific Spanish galleon or something. Don't worry, this is all getting somewhere, I promise. And then she said to me, I got to tell you something. She said, a couple of hours before you came out to the pool, she said, I was in the bathroom. She said, and this Egyptian man came to me. She said he was Arab, and he said to me, can you please look after my daughter? And she said, I didn't know what it meant. She said, and then I saw you sitting there, and I said to her, oh, my dad was Arab. At the time, we thought we were Lebanese, because my stepdad had always said that we were Lebanese, but it turns out she was hiding who we were. I found out later that she was actually born in Syria, but that we were Egyptian with Iranian ancestry, and Yemeni and Jordanian and all the rest, Jewish. So then I knew that, this was something special. So anyway, long story short, we kept in contact, and a year later she came over to New Zealand to do some work. The same thing pretty much happened to her. She was staying with some friends up in Auckland, and she got abused, and she contacted me, and I said, come and stay with me. And my training started from there, and my life changed from that point on. She took me to the radio station. I had kind of set up a whole pile of appointments for her to be interviewed at radio stations in Wellington, and I got to watch her do her stuff on radio. It was iHeart Radio in Wellington. It was fascinating. I sat in the producer's box. Well, I saw her sitting there with her headphones on taking all these calls, and the way she handled it just inspired me. Absolutely inspired me. I knew then I want to get into radio. I've told the story about how my sister and I used to pretend to do radio when we were little. We'd have a tape recorder and her record player, and we'd tape ourselves pretending to do call-in and then playing our records to play the music in there. And I've always wanted to get into radio. So in this dream, I was in this boat with teacher. After she died, I was heartbroken that I never got to call her. She gave me a test. She was the one that told me that I was chosen. She was the one that threw me into the Old English Society. She was the one that told me about the prophecy, the ancient prophecy, about the barefoot woman from the islands would bring the four corners of the globe together, and that what I created would be taught in schools, that I would marry science and religion to create a whole new way that people would see death and the afterlife and our connections to religion and all that. She was a religious person, I wasn't. But she said the reason why she knew I was the chosen, the one that the prophecy was talking about, was because I knew things that I shouldn't know. That the knowledge came naturally to me, like I had a connection to God. She goes, or higher source, whatever you believe. She quickly rang all her friends and had a conference call with her friends in Canada, and they were talking. She was like, I found her. And she said to me, you're my last student. I won't need to teach after you. She was the one that taught me how to do the Judas test. She was the one that taught me how to test my students, because she said, you'll be a teacher one day. She said, you'll be stricter than I will be. And I was like, oh my God, I'll be like cotton candy and fluffy kittens and rainbows compared to you, because she was a hard taskmaster, but I thrived on it. But she was like 1'3". She was tiny. So Mary the Fairy's going to be tiny, and she's going to look like Pauline. She's yeah, she's a homage to the way she looks in that, except Pauline didn't dress the way that Mary's going to dress. Mary's going to dress more like your archetypal sort of Scottish grannies, but she turned up the day after she died. She turned up at the foot of my bed, and she had a file in her hand, and she was going over my file, and she said to me, "You're doing a really great job, Debbie," she said, "but you need to work on your discernment." She said, "You got to be more careful about be careful about who you let into your life. And your confidence, work on your confidence." So I hadn't seen her in years, and I was getting this lecture. But yeah, but anyway, so that was 2014. And then in this dream I had, we were in a boat in the middle of the ocean, and she was dredging the ocean. And all this gunk, it was like poop and dirt and sediment and like, excuse me, slimy things, and like it was horrible. And I said to her, "What are we doing here?" She smiled at me with this big cheeky smile. She said, "We're treasure hunting." I said, "That's not pulling up treasure." And she said, "Not yet, but it soon will be." And I said to her, "Are, are we are we cleaning the ocean?" And she goes, "Yeah, kind of." She said, "But we're treasure hunting." I said, "Are we saving the ocean animals?" And she said, "Kind of, but we're treasure hunting." And I said, "Are we cleaning the ocean to get to the treasure?" And she goes, "Bingo." She goes, "Now you got it." And then she goes, "Oh, here we go." And like whatever it was that we were using to dredge the ocean, it snagged something. And how can I explain it? It's like when we pulled it up, it, it looked like a treasure. I was like, "Oh my God, this is actually happening. We've actually found treasure." But it was like a plug or something. And all the, how do I explain it? All the water started going down this, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God," going down the plug, and I'm thinking the animals are going to drown in the air. Like, I was starting to panic, thinking, how can I save all the ocean animals? I've got to save all the ocean animals. They're going to go down the plug hole. And she said to me, "Just watch." And it reminds me of the dream with Chonsu, because the ocean was made of paper. We were in the boat on the water, but it was like we could look over the water and see that it was paper. And we were completely fine. And then what happened was, it was like all the toxic water, all the dirty water was going down the drain, but clean, fresh, pure water was filling the ocean back up. And then all the animals and all the ocean animals, there was like sharks and stingrays and all different kinds of whales and narwhals and dolphins and manatees and animals that shouldn't even really be in the same body of water together, but they were all there, and they were coming up out of the water, and it's like they were thanking me. It's like they were cheering and clapping and thanking me because I'd saved them. They weren't having to swim in the toxicity anymore. I'm just having a drink. If I keep taking breaks. I have to have at least 3 cups of coffee in the morning. And I remember I was just so relieved. I was just like, "Oh my God," because I was so worried about the animals. And sorry, hang on. And she goes, "It's all right, you can wake up now." It's like as the animals are coming up out of the water, their excitement and their happiness and their love. You could almost there was crabs and lobsters and all sorts of kinds of fish, and when they were coming up out of the water and they were all like jubilant, I could feel it in my heart, the excitement, and it was so overwhelming. It was almost scary because I knew something big was coming. I could feel it. I knew something big was happening, and I was like bracing myself. Even now, while I'm talking, it's like every day that goes by and more about who I am and my science and that gets revealed, I can see what's opening up for me. Portal like doors are starting to open up for me, and I can see what's coming, and it's terrifying me because of the fact I know I'm going to have to go out on stage and be around people, and that the thought of that terrifies me. I don't have social anxiety or anything like that. I'm not. It's not like that for me. It's just that I'm a introverted person. I like peace and quiet. I like to produce the magic and sit back and see the results of it. I like to wave my wand and see what it does to the people who receive the magic. I don't I don't need to be around if you know what I mean. And see these little singing videos that I'm having to do. It's to help me get over my fear of stage fright. And I was thinking about it last night before I went to sleep. It's fine to sing these little messages, these little song notes and that when nobody's looking at me, but what am I going to do when it's time to turn the camera around and they have to look at my face? Or when I have to get on stage in front of all those people and I don't know if I can do it. So I'm working on my confidence. Pauline. I really am. Pauline and Paulette, was it? Paula and Pauline? I'm going to, her name might not have even been Pauline. I just remember thinking that they had very similar names. Pauline and Paulette. Pauline, Paula, anyway. So, yeah. So as that, like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, feeling started coming through, she had this big cheeky smile on her face. She goes, "It's all right, you can wake up now." And I did, I woke up. I woke up because I was sleeping with my head tilted. And I was, I had like, spit in the back of my throat. So I was like, gurgling because my head had tilted back in my sleep like I had been underwater. Now, remember the dream I had the other day where I was underwater? Elon Musk copied the thing and turned it into a grok imagine with the girl walking under, how I was the girl walking under the water. And I had to pass through those two, like Lamassu style statues. One of them must be my teacher, and the other one is probably Lexi. Either Amber and Pauline or Pauline and Lexi. I'm guessing Amber because she's the one that's been coming to, ad- give me advice, and could be the Polish woman. I had a dream yesterday about a Polish woman. Anyway, Pauline was definitely one of the statues, and I had to pass through it in order to get to Prince Charming and, oh no, it can't have been Amber because Amber was on the other side. So the two statues I had to pass through must be like the Polish woman, because in the dream she'd come to wash my carpets. But I don't have carpets. I turned the grant down. I said I'd taken enough from the British taxpayer, I can do without carpets. And then I got donated rugs. So, but in the dream she'd been sent to come and wash my carpets, and she was hugging me and she was saying to me, "It's okay to cry about Amber to just let it all out. And this all means something, because when you have dreams, anything to do with water is to do with your emotions and your intuition. So this dream that I had about Pauline, and the one with the Chonsu Island, Jeffrey Epstein in there, I'm sitting there trying to figure out what the hell this dream was while I was having my shower and waiting for the kettle to boil. And then it just came to me, intuition. See, everything I've been working on over the last couple of days, how I've been really like doubling down on the whole Epstein thing, going after Elon Musk, how I contacted his daughter, and Elon Musk is pissed. I've done something, because then he stopped me from accessing my tweets on Twitter. I can't just look them up, do a search for my tweets now, and also any messages that I leave on X, I can't access. They vanish off my page. The people that I send them to can see them, but I can't, because he's pissed off with me. And the Polish lady was saying other people are going to sort him out for you, and he's going to be humiliated in public for what he's done. Right? But she was there to wash my carpets, which means she was letting me know that I was about to do a deep clean, do a deep clean of an emotional state, that of an emotional situation that needed to be looked at. So Pauline being in this boat, my boys and I being in that boat with, on Epstein Island, the coconut and rice thing, I must have been on Little St. James. And the animals were helping me climb up into the clouds to get to the foundation. So my teacher had come to me to make me dig up all the crap from the boat that's laying at the bottom of the ocean, do a deep dive, and I'll find the treasure. And then I realised what it was. Right, so, I've been saying I don't want to be dealing with this Epstein stuff anymore. I have been having to deal with these people since, between 2015, 16, right up until now. And every day it's like a crescendo. It just gets more and more dangerous. I have to dig deeper and deeper down. I've had to wear so much armour to not let any of these attacks and these people get to me, that it's like I'm exhausted. And I keep saying to Father, I just want to take the armour off, because I can smell the blood on me from the souls I'm collecting, and I don't like it. I just want to get it off me. Hence the dream with Pauline. I want to take it all. I want to get it off me. I want to wash it all away. Because I've been at this by myself now for so long. You have to understand, I've had nobody, not a single person on this planet, come to me and say, I'm with you. I'm standing with you. And I've got your back, and whatever you need, I'm here. And together, we're going to help deal to these people that are doing these bad things to children. I just saw a thing on Instagram. I'm getting pulled up on Instagram, getting fact-checked for things on Instagram that I'm reposting from other people on Instagram who aren't being fact-checked. So I'm being specifically targeted for my social media, because they know who I am and they know what I'm doing and what I'm capable of, which shows that they're terrified of me. But the thing is, I don't want to be having to deal with this anymore. I've been in this war with these people by myself since about 2015, until I was brave enough to start going public with it in 2016. And then I had all the students come along saying, we're in this with you, teach us what to do. We'll do it together. And then they all ended up taking the side of the Epsteins. They all conspired against me to stop me from saving children because they were bought by the people involved with Epstein. And the betrayal and the disloyalty run so deep that it took me all the way back to my childhood, because I was thinking, okay, so Rocio tried to kiss my boy when he was 7, and I didn't react. I just waited until she left to go back to Germany, and then I slowly started pushing her away, slowly started backing off, and removing her from our life. Now, she never actually kissed him. She tried to kiss him. But my boy doesn't like people, and he quickly moved away. And he came and told me. And so I was like, she's going tomorrow, I'll deal with it, blah, 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 thinking, okay, well, she's gone, she's out, she's got to go. But one thing it made me do with what happened with Rocio is it made me start to think long and hard about who these people were that I was letting in and around my children. And this is where that dream all started falling into place. This is where it all started falling into place. As parents, we have a responsibility to make sure that our children aren't around anybody that makes them feel unsafe. And I was bringing so-called students, and I'd had 4 of them in my home. Stefana from the Netherlands, Robert and Robert was from up round this way. Oh God, what was their name? Her last name was Vasio, but she was from Romania. And Rocio from Puerto Rico, but America. I had them in my home around my children, sleeping around my children, because I trusted them. And after all that happened, my boys and I made a pact that we would never ever, like once it was just the 3 of us, and we had our own home and we were off in America back then, we wouldn't let anyone in our lives, in our home or in our social circle, without all 3 of us agreeing that they were good people. Whether it was a love interest for me, I get one chance to find love. The man that actually walks through the door of my home means he passed the test. But until then, you have to go through my sons to get to me. So we said we would bring friends, we would bring potential partners, their potential stepdad, we would bring them to each other, the group of the 3 of us first, and before they were even like allowed near my front door, we would observe how they acted with the boys. Would they, if I gave them my boys' contact details, would they reach out to my boys? Would they get to know my boys? Because I have always made it very clear that I won't be with anyone who doesn't get the approval of my sons. I'm not looking for a man to raise my children. I did that the last couple of years. That's not on me. I haven't been there. I've done my best. Their destruction has come at the hands of their father. And that revelation that I made yesterday about the frazzled rip and those phone cases and all of that, like my kids are still around him. The government decided that, the doctors decided that my children were better around him than the one trying to save the kids from having their faces turned into lampshades. So the last couple of years, that's not on me. I've done my best to try and influence them in the right kind of way from a distance until I got justice. But I'm not looking for. They don't need a father. They've got one. They need a role model because they never had one. They don't have good role models in what it is to be a real man. there hasn't been a single man in their life that's been a positive role model for them. And I'm trying to make sure that the man I bring into my life to be their stepdad is going to be the perfect example of what a role model and a man is. Loyal, dedicated. They said all they want for me in love, other than that he plays video games with them, is a man who's supportive of me and that he's loyal. They said they want to see a man who doesn't play games, who doesn't dick about, who doesn't lie, who doesn't mistreat me, who doesn't abuse me. They want to see me with a man who genuinely, wholeheartedly just loves me for who I am and is dedicated and loyal. So any potentials that have come along, the first thing I do is take them to my boys, because we made that promise, we made that pact. They brought friends to me so that I could meet them, because some of their friends I've always known, we'd be bringing them on board to be a part of the foundation, paying them for their talents and all of that sort of thing. As soon as I started going public about some of their friends wanting to come on board to play music or be actors and that's when Chris started clamping down on the "your mother is evil, your mother is dark, your mother is twisted," says the man who makes leather phone cases based on frazzled rip, who makes sex toys and then tries them out on himself with his lovers, his multiple lovers, where he doesn't even use protection. Says the man who's in a fetish sex cult. But because I found God and he became a devil worshipper, I'm the bad evil one, right? So this is all getting somewhere. So then I was thinking, okay, now that I'm getting to restart, redo everything, and I'm in this on my own, because I've been in this on my own from day one, and I was thinking about it, I've never had anyone loyal in my life other than one sister and a nephew, well, a couple of nephews, but we don't have a lot of contact with each other, but they're there. But I'm in this on my own, and I always have been. And the whole Rocio thing has helped me put a lot of things into perspective about, and with the students, about who I'm going to have in my school and who I'm going to have around those kids, because I'm going to be their surrogate mother. That's what Dragonarium means. You know, when I'm building the Dragonarium, to the safe houses for the kids that we rescue from the trafficking, that's what Dragonarium means, surrogate mother. I have a personal responsibility to make sure that people like Rocio and that can't get anywhere near those kids. And I'm going to be opening the gates to the public as well. I'm not going to know everybody there, but what I can guarantee is that my security staff, my security, my policing, and all my staff will be trained to watch every single adult around every single child while they're in my gates. And then I was thinking, because I didn't have that when I was growing up. And then it was like, okay, this is where this is going. When I was 5 and I first started school, me and my best friend Kevin Goodall, the day we were taught about stranger danger, we were almost kidnapped by a pedophile. We came out, I can still remember it like it was yesterday. We came out of the alleyway and went across the road, and this car pulled up. It was like I remember it was the same colour as butter, the colour of the car. It was this huge, it was like a land whale kind of car, probably like a Kingswood or something, I don't know, but it was huge. And it was the same colour as butter, and the man opened the door and he said, "Hey kids," he said, "come and jump in the car. Your mum's asked me to come pick you up and take you home." And we knew that was bullshit, because we literally only lived across the road. All we had to do was cross the road and turn the corner, and we were only like a couple of houses down, and our houses were right there because we lived next door to each other. And I remember Kevin and I looked at each other and we started screaming, and we took off down the road, and he like, pedal to the metal, vroom, he was gone. Went home and told our mums, and I know my mum made a phone call, but I can't remember what happened after that. And then I started thinking, things happened to me in that house, that 25 Alexander Street in Awapuni, Palmerston North. You can Google it. I've got pictures of it up on X and everything. 25 Alexander Street, Awapuni, Palmerston North, New Zealand. Good and bad, things happened to me in that house that shaped who I am as a woman today. From the paranormal stuff, like when I woke up with the lady stroking my arm, and when I told my mum about it years later, she said I was only about 8 months old. How could I remember that? But hearing the stories about the same lady rubbing my dad's feet, and him seeing her standing outside the window, and even as like 5, 6 years old, I was fascinated by the stories that my family were telling about the paranormal and supernatural, and I needed to understand why and how it was happening. But one of the things that happened in that house happened to me in the bathroom. It's probably why I like to have baths, to wash everything off me when I feel dirty, because one of my dad's military boys did something to me in that bathroom that I'm not going to go into, but you can figure it out. And it moulded and shaped me in a way that made me have to do a lot of work on myself as a woman when I was older. And that was, when you have been abused as a child, you go one of three ways. You either abstain from sex, you don't go near it, you become an abuser yourself, or you become promiscuous. And I was the lesser of three evils. I became promiscuous. Right up until I fell in love with the idea of getting married. From the age of too young, right up until when I met Paul when I was 20, I was promiscuous. And I'm so ashamed of that. But then, having to do the work on myself, I realised that it wasn't my fault. Yes, I was doing these things of my own free will, but I was crying out. My inner wounded child was crying out for a father to protect me, for a man to protect me. I didn't have my dad there to protect me from the men that my parents should not have allowed anywhere near me as a child. You see where I'm going? So then the whole Rocio thing. I'm responsible. As parents, we're responsible for the adults, for the people that we let around our children. And I very nearly failed my son. Had she have actually done anything, I'd probably be in prison for it. But luckily, I raised very smart children. But with me, I did things when I was a teenager that I'm so ashamed of now that I've been purified. I know people in my past have said, you used to sleep around in that and now she's all pure and innocent. That's what salvation is. That's what an ascension is. You do the work on yourself and you have to wash away all your impurities and all your sins. You have to do a lot of self-forgiving. It's like Jesus comes along and wraps you up in his arms, and he says, while you need to look at this pain, I'm going to help you heal from it as you do it. Like, don't be afraid to look at it, because I'm going to show you the way to teach you how to heal from it. All the guilt that I've carried for, every time I messed up as a human, as a parent, as a woman, as a friend, as a whatever. I've had to look at it from all sides, figure out where my karma lay, and accept it where I've had to admit honestly and openly I deserved that. That's why I keep saying, don't pity me, because I got the life I deserved. I had to learn how to master dealing with triumph over tragedy and turning pain into power, but also taking personal responsibility for any karmic debt that I accrued growing up. Every time, I nicked a sweet from Woolworths, from the pick and mix, or as a kid, or like I've done things as a kid that I'm not proud of, and kids are pure and innocent, and they 100% are. And had I have died as a kid, I would have gone to heaven without question. But if we don't pay off the things that we knew we did wrong as kids, kids from a very young age know the difference between right and wrong. And it is up to the village to raise that child. It's up to the family, it's up to the parents to protect them, it's up to the schools, it's up to the neighbourhood, the towns, to make sure that those kids grow up to be upright citizens, to be moral and ethical. And this is the ethos, my terms and conditions for my foundation. Everyone has to be of the same moral and ethical fibre as me. Otherwise, you're not getting a job. I don't care if you won Oscars. If you don't have the same moral and ethical fibre as me, you're not coming anywhere near my kids, because my parents didn't have my back. My mum was so busy raising all her kids by herself, because Dad was always away with the army, protecting the Queen and other people and not his own kids, that I was left in the hands of one of his army boys who did despicable things to me in that bathroom. And it set me from the age of, I must have been about 4, when I started dreaming about the man in my dreams. And this is why I've been trying to find him. How sad is that? This is why since the age of 4 or 5, when that man got to me in the bathroom, and my mum was literally on the other side of the door in the kitchen, preparing party food. I remember coming out of that bathroom wrapped in my towel, looking at my mum with her back turned, standing at the kitchen, preparing all this food, thinking, how could you let that happen to me? Like, you didn't even check on me. Like, I just was standing there thinking, you didn't even check on me. He just did that and you didn't even check on me. How could you do that to me? I was like 4. And that's when the man in my dream started coming to me. And that's why I've been trying to find him ever since. Because even as a little girl, I knew he was going to be my safe space. He was going to be the one man that I knew was going to have my back. That he wouldn't let anything happen to me. That he was going to protect my body and protect my heart and not abuse me and be 100% loyal. Because I'd never had it. My own brother chose my abuser, both sexual, emotional, mental and financial abuser, a little bit physical when he punched me in the jaw, chose him over me. I haven't had a single loyal male in my life, but for some reason I knew when I was 4 or 5 years old, when I was dreaming about the man in the moon, he was the one man in the world that I was going to be able to trust with everything and all that I was. And that together, him and I were going to make sure that all the kids that came into our lives, we would have their backs, because my parents didn't have mine. And I've been trying to make sure that my boys knew that I would have their back. And so that's why the boys and I put up that test. You can't come to this door unless you get my boys' approval. Well, they're not even in my life anymore, so I don't even have them as but of the couple of men that I did pass on their numbers and that, none of them reached out to them, none of them got to know them. See, if I was with a man who had kids and he gave me his kids' contact details, I'd be messaging them every day. I'd be there to give them advice, moral support, letting them know, hey, I'm thinking of you, sending, like, I'd be there all the time checking on them. And we didn't have a single man do that. They'd reach out, like, we even set up group chat things. There'd be no, like, it was, so then they'd get cut off. Because if my boys didn't approve, then, and like I keep saying, I'm financially responsible for my children, not him. I'm not looking for a dad, I'm not looking for a father, I'm just looking for a role model. Someone who is upright enough that my boys can say, he's someone that I want to be when I grow up, or someone that they can go to when they need advice that a mum can't give them, that only a man can give them. Especially now that they're coming up to 16 and 17. Thomas is 17, Gabriel's 16 in June. And that's what the dream was. And Amber in the water, and Pauline with the water, and my boys in the water, and it's all to do with all the fighting that I've had to do to try and bring justice to these victims. I can only do so much for the ones that are living, but where I've been called to speak is for the ones that didn't survive. And I'm seeing things on Instagram and all of that, like, the bodies that are like being spit roasted, the ones that get put into the McDonald's, and because, cannibalism and all that, but there's stuff on my Instagram, if you have a look on my reposting thing. These are all things that I was shown many, 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 many years ago that I kept from my children and I kept from my students, and I talked about it on my blog, and I did talk about it, but I never showed them anything because I promised anonymity, to the people who were feeding me the information. I'm still loyal to them to this day. Even though I've had the CIA, and a couple of them were in the CIA, the New York PD, Secret Service, Border Patrol, the Army and Air Force and Marines and that, I've kept their anonymity, and then their colleagues turned around and worked against them and came after me. And I've had to take every hit, every knock, every kick, every punch, every loss, everything. Now, Elon Musk is hell-bent on trying to stop me, but he's got 2 shows, shit show and no show, because when Polish women are coming to you and saying, don't worry, the people are going to sort them out for you, you won't have to do a thing, it's like, okay, I just sit back. Because in the dream, it wasn't my backyard, it wasn't even my neighbourhood, and I don't have carpets. But she was saying, like, just do a deep clean, and it's going to pay off in dividends, which is what Amber was saying when she was going to the ATM machine under the water. Just do the deep dive, just do it, because remember the water it was choppy waters. Just go there, and it's going to pay off in the end. And I mean, it already has. I've only been awake for a little while, and having just figured all why, people keep saying, what's the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to find the meaning in life. Why are you here? What is your purpose? And I was shown, and I keep saying, we as children show ourselves who we're supposed to be as adults, what we're into and what we're around and what we do when we're kids points in the direction we're supposed to go go in as adults. What you love as a kid, what you do as a kid. shows you what is going to make you happiest doing and being as an adult. And I was, from the age of 5, set on a path of protecting children from sexual predators. From the age of 4, technically. I was given a very serious role to play in this world in my life. And it was going to get me to a foundation where I was going to be healing a lot of people, because as a child I had no one protecting me. And so it's like, then I was thinking, am I putting too much pressure on the man in my dreams to be my all and everything? But it's like, I'm not asking him to be anything other than loyal and faithful and dedicated and committed. And if you say you're going to call, call. And if you say you're going to message, message. And if you say you love me, love me. If you say you only have eyes for me, don't entertain other women. Do you know what I mean? Just, I'm not asking for a millionaire. I'm not asking for a billionaire. I'm not asking for anyone famous. I'm not asking for anyone who is considered to be attractive or anything like that. I will love you if you're loyal to me, if you're faithful to me. And that's the man of my dreams. And I know he's out there. And I meet him when I get to Switzerland. But now it all makes sense, because my teacher forced me, and Amber, bloody Amber, forced me to take a deep dive and figure it all out and dig up all that dirt and sludge that had been buried deep down underneath, so that I can have my final purification ritual before I step into the new. I've been determined to make sure, based on my path, that my boys had respect for their bodies. I remember having discussions with them about, adult content on the internet. I know that they're smart enough to know right from wrong. I know that I can't stop them from accessing certain things on the internet, but I have just had to hope and pray that as a mother and as a role model of what a woman is, that they have respect for their bodies and the people that they will eventually, have these encounters with, enough that they use protection, and that they only give themselves physically to people they're in love with. Don't, unlike their father and, the whole Baphomet, because they worship Baphomet, and that's all the promotion of orgies and sex cults and multiple partners and polygamy, and that's not what I want for my boys. If I could have my way, they'd marry the person they fell in love with and stay with them forever, just like my mum. My mum gave herself to my dad, and she was loyal to him for 40 years. And if I could go back and do that, I mean, I would, but I can't, because it would have meant that. Well, what it would mean is that I had my sons to the man of my dreams, but it hasn't worked out that way. It's God's plan. But what I have done is I've kept my legs closed for the man of my dreams. Since my last husband, I've slept with 2 men since I was 20, and I was married to both of them. So that is me making up for the mistakes I made before I married my first husband, to show my loyalty and my commitment and my dedication to God, to serving God, to prove to God that I deserved everything that I was asking for in the future with my school. My final sacrifice was that of my body. I took a vow of chastity and became an occult version of a bride of Christ. I'm like the occult version of a nun. And I have had to deal with people say the most salacious things about me and my purity and my chastity. I've had things fake AI stuff passed around. I've had personal things passed around because I know Martin was letting his friends see the photos and stuff that I was sending him because his friends were telling me. I was his wife and he was sharing intimate things between a husband and wife with his friends, and his friends were coming and telling me. So that's why God removed them, because he knew I was better than all of that. He knew I was intended for a greater purpose that came from a place of purity, because my love is pure. When I love you purely, and I love you deeply. And if you're not loyal to me and you're not faithful to me, and you can't show up as a man to get to know my sons, who are the most important people in my life, and always will be, regardless of whether we talk or not, you're not coming anywhere near me. I've been trying to understand why so many people play games online pretending to love, and all these men and women and that falling at their feet begging for attention, and it's because they're unhealed. When you make a living or you spend your day using emotional mind games to lure in unsuspecting people who just are broken themselves, who want to love you loyally, and it's turned into a game for control and stroking egos and all that sort of thing, that's unhealthy living. And that's not anything that I will be promoting with my dating app, or the way that I've set up the algorithm for my dating app. There's no mind games. You can't play mind games. It's going to be impossible. I think it's very clever how I've done it. But these women and these men begging for phone calls, begging for messages, begging for an answer, because a lot of them that I've been watching and engaging in, like fake bestie, they think he's Elon Musk or someone called Park Jimin or something from a K-pop. And yeah, it's been quite fascinating to watch. I feel sorry for them, and they're embarrassing themselves in front of. They think it's one person, but it's a group of people. They they think they're talking to one person. Like this one person can text 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they think it's Elon Musk in this park gym. Like they don't have jobs. But it's like, is that how desperate women are for attention from men now? And again, it goes back to our parents. When we're begging for attention online from people, that we've made up a whole scenario in our head about who we are in the relationship we have with them, that's a result of how our parents raised us and how we grow up viewing relationships. I had very bad role models. I watched my brothers and sisters either being beaten up or cheated on. They were my role models. My mum begging to be with the man she loved, who was away with the army, who was avoidant, emotionally avoidant. Don't get me wrong, when he was there, my dad was great. I loved my dad. My dad was a good man. My dad came from a horrendous childhood himself, with his older brother abusing him on levels that I am so grateful that I got. I would rather have the dad that I had than have the dad that I could have had, because at least my dad and I met on a intellectual level, And my dad is the whole reason why I'm doing 90% of the stuff that I'm doing. But he was afraid to love us kids because of the fact that when he was a kid, he wasn't loved by his own siblings. My uncle used to lock him in the cupboard overnight when he was like 6, 7 years old. My dad used to have to sleep in a broom cupboard. He used to get beaten to a pulp because my uncle used to take his rage and his anger of losing his twin and that out on my dad. My uncle Sonny came back from World War II and he got murdered by 7 Fijians because they were trying to rape a woman in an alleyway, and he beat the crap out of them, and then they waited for him to come out the pub one night, followed him home, and they stabbed him and beat him and pushed him down the stairs and killed him. And that wrecked my Uncle Graham, his twin. They were twins. And my uncle took it out on my dad. So see, this is what I'm saying. Who you are is a direct result of who raised you, and we pay off a lot of our ancestral and parental, familial debt because we carry it around with us. How our children how our parents grew up is going to be a direct result of who you are as an adult. And if you've come from a messed up background like I have, like my mum used to get beaten up by my grandfather almost every other day. The the hidings that my mum used to give me were a result of my granddad. He broke her jaw 6 weeks before she went to marry my dad because she said she was going to the movies with George instead of may I go to the movies with George. And he punched her in the jaw, broke her jaw, and he said, "You're not married to him yet. You still answer to me." When I got married to Paul, I walked down the aisle with cuts and bruises all over my face because I'd gotten beaten up by my mum and my sister because they pretended that they'd gotten a prostitute for my husband, future husband, for his stag night. And they all laughed in my face when I got upset and called the wedding off. And, because I was so heartbroken by the betrayal that every single person in my family knew what was happening except me and my sister Paula and Amber, because they said don't tell Paula and Amber but that we're going to play a trick on her because they'll tell her. That's the family I came from. I got pushed through a wall on the night before my wedding. I had bruises and cuts all over my face. If you look closely at some of my wedding photos, you'll see the cuts and bruises all over my face. My sister, Erin, had to hide my battered face with makeup. My lip was all sore. I had bruises all over my shoulder. My wedding dance, I was in so much pain because my sister and mum attacked me because I was upset. I was like, how dare you be upset that we played a prank on you and thinking that we'd gotten a prostitute for your husband and you overreacted. Like, that's how sick my family were. And so I've been trying to protect my boys from all of that. And so when I have my brother, see, because Chris never used to be as messed in the head as what he is now. It was only when he lost his job at his games company, Red Radium Media, he set up a games company and got betrayed by his best friend Tardy. And we moved to Yorkshire. That's when he started changing. That's when the violence and all that started kicking in. But my brother jumped to help Chris by giving him money, and we paid it back because Chris was so broken. I felt so sorry for him. He took it really hard, It was a real knock to his ego to the point where when we moved to Yorkshire and he got the job as senior art director, he couldn't handle the pressure. And everyone at Sumo kept telling me that he was really bad at his job and that everyone was having to jump in to help him fix all his work. I've got people at Sumo who are prepared to stand up in court and testify about how that they had to bring in other art directors to help carry the load because he couldn't do his job. He buckled under the pressure, and then he'd come home and take it out on me and the kids with the abuse and the violence. And then, of course, I'd get frustrated and lose my temper and yell and scream and then I realised, holy shit, what are you doing, lady? So in 2015, I decided to change everything about my life. And I started losing weight, and I started sacrificing all the negative parts of myself: paranoia, temper, impatience, anxiety, that sort of thing. And then I started realizing it's because of the people I was around. By the time I started really getting into the psychology of the ascension and the psychology of the occult, supernatural, paranormal paradigm, that's when I started realizing I'm absorbing all of this from the people I'm around. And it's not okay. And I don't need these people in my life enough that I'm going to let them dump all their toxicity on me to the point where it's going to affect the happiness of my children. And one of the last things my boys said before they left last June was that they had to give me credit for the work that I'd done on myself and the changes that I'd made. That I was a completely different woman to the one they knew when they were little. Prior to 2015, I'd become a completely different woman, and that they were proud of the work I'd done on myself. Thomas even said that I was a good role model he said that he now knows because of me what a real woman's supposed to be. And that he was proud of me for that. He said he has to give me credit. So, at least I've got that. So going forward, as I'm about to step into this whole new thing, I don't want to be dealing with this Epstein stuff anymore. I've had to fight this holy war on my own. The king didn't listen, Vladdy didn't listen. They didn't listen. We were supposed to be all in this together. The Holy Trinity. We were supposed to be in this together. All the king had to do was dissolve Parliament. All Vladdy had to do was reach out and, let me come there and build a school. Just not do business with Elon Musk and Donald Trump. That's all he had to do. Just let me go there and build a school and just not do any business with Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But he didn't listen. So then God's pulled me away. But in pulling me back, I got to put everything into perspective, and they're not my baggage anymore. They're growing men. I can only do so much. But what I can do is make sure that where I'm going, the kids will be safe. That where I'm going, I'll have their back. And whoever I do have in my life, if I give them a warning, if I say something, they listen. If I ask them to do something, they do it. Can you give me a call? Can we, can you message me? Can you, why did you block me? Why am I not, sort of like, what the hell's going on? Give me an answer. And if you're going to say you're going to do, if you say you're going to do something, do it. I can't stand that. People who say they're going to do something and then they don't do it. So I've just been spending this whole time sitting back and observing. And I'm still in there every day with my sword and just hammering away at the truth, hammering away, stabbing at the truth, hammering away. Elon Musk is this, Donald Trump is this, blah, 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 blah. Here's the proof, here's the evidence. And I just don't want to do it anymore. So that dream I had where Sir Raphael and Luca were sent to take the Dark One down to the underworld, which it looks like it's Netanyahu, examining that dream and the wolf, me rubbing his head covered in blood, the wolf's head, Luca's head covered in blood, and Sir Raphael coming down from heaven, the Archangel Sir Raphael coming down and saying, we need him for one more battle. And I'm saying, but he's tired, he needs a rest. Well, Luca is me. Luca's my ancestor, my dad's, the wolf on the Callaghan coat of arms. And Sir Raphael saying, I understand he's tired, but we need him for one more battle. This is me in my final battle, that me going after hammering away at Elon Musk, even though he's trying to put up all these barriers, trying to stop me from uploading videos, trying to stop me from messaging people, like messing with my ex and all of that, is because I'm exposing him. And now people can't unsee everything that I've been exposing him for. And now other people, the Polish woman in the dream, other people have started bringing up stuff about him. Have you noticed that he's not allowing people without blue checks to have access to Grok? Have you noticed that he's um, uh, suspending and restricting people's access on X? And so now people are seeing everything I've been saying. They're jumping in on the bandwagon. So now it's not just me, and it can't be all in my head about Elon Musk if he's now doing it to other people, and other people are seeing what he's doing to me. And that's what the Polish woman said. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to worry about it now. He's going to be dealt with without you having to lift a finger. Like, I think my work with him is done. I'm dredging all the stuff up from the past in order to swim in pure waters. Because Anahit is a taniwha, a water dragon. A taniwha, a Māori water dragon, a Māori water serpent dragon. Because back in the old days, they used to think dragons were serpents. That's why you'll see in a lot of mythology, dragons look like serpents, but they're not. Technically, they're not. Dragons come from the Komodo dragon. That's where the whole mythology of dragons come from. There's people out there saying that dinosaurs were actually dragons, but they're not. The whole mythology of dragons come from the Komodo dragon. Breathing fire, because they're spitting that's toxic as well, and they were huge. They didn't know what they were when they came across them. So yeah, that's where the whole mythology of dragons come from. I don't think a lot of people know that. I think it's cool, but anyway. So that's that. And I'm okay with everything that I've just said, because I know that everything I say helps all the people that are meant to receive the help from it. And it's why I put everything out there. It's why I put it all out there. Because I'm showing people how I survived hell, and that nothing is impossible. And if I can survive everything that I went through, CIA targets, Elon Musk target, Donald Trump target, Keir Starmer target, I've been targeted by so many people, so many countries, and I've had to fight them off on my own, because nobody else had balls big enough to stand beside me and say, we're in this together. And now that all the Epstein stuff's dropped, remember last year I gave Father the orders to drop snippets of videos and photos, and now they are. So it's time to do something about it. America has to stand up and say no. Great Britain has to stand up and say no. France has to stand up and say no. Because if we're allowing this stuff to happen in the highest echelons of government, what the hell are we bringing our children and grandchildren up in? And what world are we going to leave for our great-grandchildren? That having normal pedophilic relationships is going to be perfectly normal? In 20, 30 years' time, are we going to be sitting around watching our grandkids who are 5 and 6 getting married to 60-year-old men and then waiting for the day when they get pregnant once they start getting periods? Because that's where we're headed. I'm sorry, but over my dead body, and they've tried to make it my dead body. But, to the last, I will fight to the last. Because if God hadn't have intervened that day and given Kevin Goodall and I that stranger danger class just before school broke out, God knows where him and I would have ended up. So my battle to defend kids started when I was 4, because I too couldn't trust men in the military. And I've been trying to find the man in my dreams, the one man in my life that I knew as a child was going to make me feel safe and loved, and that he wouldn't disrespect my body, that he loved me so much that he would defend me against all others to keep my purity innocent and my innocence pure. And until that happens, I'm on my own, and I'm okay with that now, because I'd rather be on my own and know that I can trust me than be around a million people I can't. And it doesn't matter the label: friend, sibling, family member, co-worker, well, not co-worker, but I wouldn't work with anyone like that, but you know what I mean? Potential lover, whatever. No, thank you. And this is why it's so important when you're going through an ascension to keep away from toxic behaviour, from toxic people, because you have to do a deep dive, you have to do a deep clean on yourself. You have to look at yourself from a kaleidoscopic, multiple angled, honest view of yourself, of your life choices, of your siblings, of your parents' lives, their life choices, and you have to look at it under a microscope. And you can't do that and do that deep introspective work on yourself when you've got other people trying to bring drama or create drama or cause drama. If you're healing and they're not, if you're choosing to work on yourself and they don't, you have to walk away, because otherwise all they do is drag you down and suck the life out of you. And that's what I realised. I was around with my students. They had no interest in doing the work. They had no interest in doing any of the coursework. They had no interest in becoming anything like what I was. They just wanted the prestige of knowing that after I did all the work, I was going to hand them a free pass into a life of luxury, and they were riding on my coattails. And then when I started giving them the Judas test, they didn't like it. So that's when they all decided to turn on me. We don't need her, we can do it ourselves. Well, yeah. Okay, and then what happened? You're going to end up with a massive lawsuit, public humiliation, historical recognition for being defenders of an international child sex trafficking ring, and members of a sex fetish cult. Because they chose the path of quote unquote righteousness. They were right, I was wrong, because I expected them to do the work on themselves, to have the morals and ethics to the standards of allowing them to be around children who were brought up in the same kind of environments that I was. And that's what I keep thinking as well. My students were not of the same ilk as me. These were not high functioning, creative, empathic geniuses. They weren't even empathic people. These were cruel, nasty, vicious, vindictive, jealous, egoic, mind set people. None of them were writers or musicians or artists or anything like that. I was completely around the wrong people, and God saved me. God yeeted me out of there. And it's been a long road. It's been a hard battle, but I've done it. I've done it. And I might only have one sister left, and the love of three nephews left out of like hundreds of people that I had in my life. But at least I know they're there, and at least I know that in spite of everything I was put through, they still stuck by my side. So that's the deep dive. I was always destined to speak up for victims of child abuse. I was always destined to use my love of radio, my love of writing, my love of writing. You know, I was thinking the other day when I was 9, just before, well, I might have been 8 or 9, when I was at Fairfield Primary School in Levin, I wrote a play about some aliens on Mars. And all my friends and I, we rehearsed this play and then we put it on for the class. And I directed it, I wrote it and everything. I can't remember the storyline, but I know that we were aliens on Mars. And it had comedy in it. And it only went for like about 15 minutes or something, but we were allowed to put this play on for the whole class just before like the end of, before lunch break. The end of the morning period before lunch break. So I was showing myself back then. My sister Erin and I used to turn our house into a hospital where we play nurses and all that, and all our toys, like the bathroom was the x-ray room, the kitchen with the fold-out table was the operating table. Our bed, we'd made up like medical files with all their notes and everything, our little name tags. We used to like the paper hats, because my mum and my sister Marion was a staff nurse, and my mum was a nurse as well. Marion was a staff nurse for a general hospital, and mum was a geriatric nurse. And so, you know, we'd play doctors and nurses with all our toys and that, and we'd write out these big elaborate scripts and storylines. And I was only like 10. So it was there all along. But I've had to trawl through all the shit in order to get there. And that meant having to look at all the abuse from my parents and what my grandmother allowed. You know, my mum's dad left my nana for their son's girlfriend. That's the kind of bloody EastEnders Coronation Street shit I grew up in. And the thing is, I had a member of my family who was Epstein as a baby, as an actual baby, full on Epstein, where the damage was so bad they had to have a hysterectomy when they were 30. Having so many miscarriages, having a couple of kids where the damage done to their body because of what happened to them as a baby, I believe they were about, I know they were under 2 years old. Full on. The damage was irrevocable to her body, and she had to have a hysterectomy at 30. Had to take everything out because of the damage it had done. And everybody knew who it was. Us kids were never told. All the adults knew, and nothing was done. They weren't arrested. No charges were done. I had to spend my whole life growing up thinking, which one of the uncles did it? Which one do I need to protect myself from? Nothing was done. How sick is that? So unless the child has been plucked from the streets, like, because I sometimes wonder whether the man that tried to pick me up in the car wasn't connected to the man in the bath. Why, of all the children that were coming out of the gates that day, why did he specifically target Kevin and I? Was he connected to the man in the bath? I will never know. But a lot of the stuff goes on in Indigenous families. The abuse, the alcohol addictions, the SA, if you think of Once Were Warriors, that movie Once Were Warriors with what happened to Gracie, that happens a lot in Indigenous families, unfortunately. And nobody says anything. The cops don't get called. I mean, Jake beat the crap out of Bully, but that never happened in my family. What I do know is that when something happened to one of my nieces, and it was my nephews and that sorted the guy out. My nephews had to step up and be the men. Because it turns out that, and I'm not talking about my older brother, because he's been wise enough to keep himself away from my family. He was the smart one. He distanced himself when I was little. It meant I never really got to know him, but he was smart. But all the men in my family, other than my I'm not. It's just I don't consider them to be real men. A lot of stuff is passed down from generation to generation that's unacceptable, and it's up to us to stop it. And that's exactly what I've been doing since 2015, and especially since Rocio tried to kiss Gabriel. I've been working my ass off to make sure that my children, when they grow up, my grandchildren, if I have any, don't carry any of the burdens of my ancestors. That it stops with me. The abuse and the turning a blind eye and not saying anything and keeping the mouth shut for the sake of not making waves, it stops with me. So now I bang the drum and I blow the whistle. Even if it kills me, I will do it. But people will know the truth of who those people are. I don't care anymore. If you hurt children, I'm going to tell people. Because the child can't speak for themselves. They're told, if you say something, I'm going to hurt your family. If you say something, I'm going to kill your dog. If you say something, I'm going to come back and kill your parents, and the children are innocent and they believe it. And that's how they gain the control over them, because that's what I was told. With the man in the bath, don't say anything. Don't tell anyone this is our secret, it's just between us. But I still remember standing at that bathroom door, looking at my mum in the kitchen, thinking, how could you let this happen? You didn't even come and check on me, because the thing you need to understand is I'd never met this man before. I didn't know who he was from Adam. He wasn't one of my dad's close friends. He was someone that my dad had sent to the house to help my mum set up the army tents, because they were having a big party outside. And I remember the big army truck turning up with the big tent, and there was all these young boys that I'd never even met before. And my mother trusted him to give me a bath. I said to my sister Erin, do you remember that time Mum wanted us to have a bath? Come inside, have a bath, because we were outside playing and we didn't want to have a bath. And she said that if we didn't, we had to have a bath because we had to get ready for this party. And I said, and you said you talked Mum out of not having one. But I didn't want to upset Mum, so I went and had a bath. And this man said, I'll give her a bath, Mrs. C. I'll bath you for you, Mrs. C. Ran the water, got in the bath. He shut the door. He came towards me, put his hands in the water between my legs, and everything went black. Until I remember standing at the door wrapped in a towel, looking at my mum thinking, how could you do this to me? I won't let that happen to my boys. I won't let that happen to any of the kids at my school. Because I'll be in Switzerland, and everybody in Switzerland has guns. Which is why God put me in the perfect country. It's the law there where everyone has to have guns. And my security will be armed. And if they're all going to take every single member of staff. Doesn't matter whether they're there to be a dance teacher or work in a shop. Every single person that I pay a wage to will be given a defensive training course. To learn how to defend themselves. Where possible, defensive driving if they can drive. So they'll learn to do defensive driving. They'll do a self-defense course. Weapons training if I can. And first aid, civil defence. What to do in all and every emergency. So you'll have a couple of weeks before you start where you'll have to do like a comprehensive first aid course, where you'll have to do a self-defence course, where you'll have to do, because with my Golden Wings program, where you see a pair of golden wings, you can go in and ask for help. And everyone where you see the golden wings, whether it's a shop or they're actually wearing the golden wings, they're going to know exactly what to do. And if you're if someone's nabbed you off the street and you run into the shop, and they come and follow you and try and drag you out, and that, my staff are going to know how to defend that kid and defend themselves from attackers and all of that, whether they can do martial arts or anything like that. I'll even have a bloody self-defense martial arts studio. I'll have a dojo. I'll get someone in who knows what they're doing. And we'll even offer like classes where the kids can come and actually, that's what I'm going to do. In the Oriental Garden part of my foundation, I'm going to have like a dojo where people in the community even can come and learn self-defense from knife attack, from, attackers. The kids can do it, my staff will do it, and I'll get someone in who can teach like martial arts. Bushido, judo, I don't know, martial arts, and we'll offer classes. But yeah, defensive driving, because we're going to have buses picking kids up from airports and picking tourists up from the airports to take them to the foundation, to take them to the hotel. They're going to have to, know how to do defensive driving within buses and vans and all of that. And I'll be hiring all veterans anyway from law enforcement and the military. So that's my story, and that's what she was getting me to dig up from the bottom of the ocean. Pauline and Amber. I feel completely empty now, to be honest. The old me probably would have cried, but I feel completely calm. I feel, yeah, she knows what she's doing, eh? Even in the afterlife, she knows what she's doing. Because I feel completely calm now. I woke up this morning with my mind all jumbled. What could it mean? What was she talking about? And then as soon as I figured it out, it's like, whoosh, and now I feel completely emotionless, like blank, clean slate, blank. Washed it all out, got it all out, it's all out. Huh. That's why I always did whatever she told. Whatever she told me to do, I did it without question. Because she knew what she was talking about. We had different beliefs, different religions, different theologies and all that, but that woman knew her shit. And I was fascinated with her as a doctor of metaphysics, especially when it came to treasure hunting. I thought she had the best adventures when she went to America. She worked with the police solving crimes. She worked with the scientists at Caltech, I think it was, on the God phone. And I've picked up where she left off. I am the God phone. They were building an actual physical machine, but I became the machine. I am the God phone. And I am the metaphysician, but I'm a biorhythmic engineer. So I'm an emotional pirate hunting treasure from the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean to bring up and turn into gold for people, to turn into treasure for other people to enjoy. I love pirates. I got a thing for pirates. The whole Blackbeard thing when I went to North Carolina. Oh, it's a shame I can't go back to America because there's so many things I want to see, so many things I want to go back to. Cornwall, when I went to Cornwall. Now that I know what I can do, I'd love to go back to Cornwall because just standing there, seeing where all the pirates came from, and then going to North Carolina and seeing where a lot of them ended up along those waters, just fascinated me. Seeing where they used to drink and hang out and like all the caves along the shoreline and that. Cornwall and Penzance, the pirates of Penzance and that. Oh, loved it. I love it. We could even do for the cabaret, we could do a pirate cabaret. We could do a gangster one. I was thinking about it yesterday with, the moles and the dames and the gangsters and the, cardboard Tommy guns and all that with their spats. So, yeah, we could do a cabaret based around Al Capone and then, yeah, St. Valentine's Day Massacre and all that. Oh my God. Honestly, the potential's like, my childhood wasn't all bad. I grew up around music. I grew up around watching my brothers and sisters and that perform Jesus Christ Superstar and all sorts of musicals. So I'm cleaning out the muck and keeping the pure waters of my childhood, taking with me all the good things about my childhood, because in that house I was always also introduced to the supernatural and the paranormal and the occult. Watching my sisters and that do seances and Ouija boards and shape shifting, and like it all moulded and shaped me into who I am now. So, you take the good with the bad. It's just that I no longer have to hold on to the bad. I've looked at it, I've cleared it away, and I'm just taking all the lessons from it to take into the future, so that the kids, when they come to me and I'm their surrogate mum, when I am their dragonarium, safety and peace isn't something they're going to have to worry about. Because what happened to me is never going to happen to the children that I look after under my care when I get to Switzerland. So that's what the dream is about. Gosh, I've been talking a lot. This is probably my longest video. So, yeah, there we go. I feel completely calm now. I feel completely at peace. I feel completely void of emotion other than calm, calm blue ocean. And if anything that I've said has helped inspire any of you that have been listening, then that's the whole reason why I was made to document this dream. If I can survive everything that I've survived from start to finish, you can too. I know I wasn't perfect before I had my ascension, and I'm certainly not perfect now. I'm an arsehole. I'm a gobby, stubborn, determined arsehole. If you do anything that warrants my assholery to come out, absolutely. I'm not apologising for that, because it lets you know where you stand with me, but at least I'm honest. I will never hide my true feelings around you. I tell you what I think. And it's up to you to figure the rest of that out. But at least you know I'm honest. I will never hide my feelings from you. You will never have to question or doubt where you stand with me, because I will tell you from the get-go. And it's better to be hurt by the truth than devastated by a lie. And no one will ever be able to say I'm a liar or that I'm fake, because I'm as real as they come. I'm the realest mofo you'll ever meet in your life, because I have nothing to hide. So I don't need to lie. I have nothing to hide. So, yeah. It's the people who hide behind fake counts and fake friendship and fake love and that. They're the ones who have everything to hide. I don't. But at least when the kids and the staff and that are under my watch, they'll be able to just let it all hang out. Just let it all go, let it all hang out. Teach adults how to be kids again, and let kids be kids. When I employ people, my adults are going to, even the people that pay for our services and that, it's all about just letting it all go and having fun. Just putting the adult world behind you and just walking into my gates and just having fun and just letting it all out and just being silly and childlike again. Just bring that inner child out with your creativity and your energy and your fun and your imagination. And that's why I don't want to be dealing with this stuff anymore. I'm being retired from it. I want to deal with, yes, I'm going to be rescuing kids, but once they're with us, I'm going to be showing them how to heal from everything they've gone through. I'll have the right, nurses. We'll have doctors and nurses to check on everyone. We'll have counsellors and, people with psychology degrees and all that, just to check on them, just to make sure that, they're okay and that they've got people to go to and that. But for the most part, it's about safety and giving them a place to just forget about it even if just for a little while. So, yeah, I'll have everyone in place. I just need a lot of hands on deck, that's all. So, sitting here regurgitating my coffee. Ever since they did my damage to my throat, I have trouble with digestion now. I can't even drink from the bottom of a cup because as soon as I tilt my head back, it closes my throat off because of the damage that my throat took from the constant vomiting from being poisoned. So you'll hear a lot of like gurgling and grrr. That's because of if I've had a drink or anything like that. It's because of the damage my um, trachea and all that took, my digestive tract and that took. Because remember, it wasn't just the NHS that poisoned me. Chris was poisoning me from around about 2018 as well. So yeah. So anyway, but this isn't a woe is me, like, poor me, I'm a victim. No, this is like, look what I survived. I'm telling my story so you can see what I survived. And then when I get to Switzerland, I'll turn it into books and video games. And I'm going to have talkback radio where people will be able to contact me and tell their story, and I'll show them. I'll let them get it all out. I'll show them what to do. I'm going to have a talkback one, like an agony aunt one, where they come like calling for advice sort of thing, so to speak, um, and the paranormal. Going back to my radio show in Chicago, where people will be able to contact me with their supernatural, paranormal, unsolved mysteries, unexplained mysteries kind of things, and yeah, I'll show them what to do. So I'm going to personally have 2 radio shows. I know my nephew, Nephi, is going to have one where he's talking about his experience as a man who's worked on himself and battled addictions and how he dealt with his Crohn's disease and, his ascension process from a male perspective. So, a lot of plans for my radio show, but anyway, I'm going to go now and have my breakfast, listen to some classical music and just take all of that in because I was not expecting that. It's windy outside. I love it. Anyway, so I'm going to go. That was a big one. Sorry I talked so long, but it's meant for the right people, and if the right people are meant to find it, they will. But otherwise, I'm just putting it out there. So I'll speak to you later. Have a beautiful day. Ka kite anō, and know that you are loved. Mwah.